on making a silly game. You build a cafe, watch cats drink coffee, and then leave it running on your desktop. But this game almost never got made. I'll show you the drama behind its very rocky start, a mistake that almost doomed the game, how my friend and I unlocked its full potential, and the fatal dilemma that's now threatening to ruin the game after 7 months in development. It all started when this tiny desktop game came out of nowhere. The moment I saw it on Steam, I knew it was gonna be a hit. So younger Sam came up with a slightly different idea. What if there was a cozy desktop game, but instead with cats and coffee? Because people like cats and coffee, right? So I hit up my genius friend, and us being completely unhinged, thought we could make the prototype in 1 week. But what started as a cozy idea became an all-out war zone. We aren't the best artists, so not only did we have to depend on existing art assets, but we were also on a limited budget. A great combination. We tried doing an isometric game. It looked like shit. We thought about making it a top-down 2D game, but there weren't enough art assets that would fit the style. Then we tried to make it a 3D sphere that you can rotate around, but it looked very weird. After about 1 entire month, we finally settled on an outdoor 3D cafe, since adding vertical walls would have taken up too much space on the screen. Now, there's a reason I didn't share the game on social media until now. This is the reason. Another month in, and we finally decided on this unique art style. Shout out to my teammate Walter for doing all the graphics work. Now, one of the big things we wanted to achieve with this game was that you could customize the cafe however you'd like. We tried several building systems, like a grid-based system, but ultimately decided that free placing the objects would allow the most freedom. But a huge issue that we encountered was making the placement feel good. It's actually pretty tricky, because there might be an object in front of where you want to place the new object. So what we did was make a second camera angle that would trigger whenever you entered build mode, and would give you a better viewpoint of your cafe area. We also made it so that wherever you were pointing, it would find the top bounds of the object and place the object on top of that instead. We found that doing this curated the best building experience. But for the furniture, we faced another big hurdle. Walter had some 3D modeling experience, but I had none. And if we wanted to add hundreds of customization options, modeling each piece of furniture would have taken forever. So instead, we actually purchased several 3D model asset packs that all looked similar in style, and then slightly altered them in Blender and Photoshop to make sure they were all cohesive. We also made use of shaders, code that can change the look of the surface and the lighting to give all of the furniture a more toony feeling. But just placing objects is no fun. Since we're outdoors, we want to be able to add paths on the terrain along with rivers and fences. So Walter got started to work on a spline system where you could freehand the path you wanted, and it would automatically generate the meshes and alter the terrain, which I think this is a really cool feature of ours. But there was just a small problem with this building system. It kept breaking. There were so many corner cases to consider, and the packages we were using didn't support all of the features that we needed. So Walter had to dig deep into the code and customize it just for our use case. Even after all these trials and tribulations, though, it wasn't enough to prepare us for the biggest trial we would face yet, the one that would almost ruin our game, the executable. You know, the thing that actually runs the game outside the game engine? Yeah, the thing that pops up when you go to build your game and test that it actually works. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. Turns out the graphics pipeline we were using in Unity didn't fully support 3D transparent backgrounds, something our game depends on. At this point, we were 4 months into development, and none of us had thought to build a game and test that it actually worked. Quite silly of us. At this point, we were frustrated. We realized just how much work this silly little desktop game was gonna be. But it was too late. We were already locked in, and we were gonna finish this game if it was the last thing we did. So while Walter was working on actually getting the game to run, I started on the gameplay. About time. Right. Now, we wanted to keep it really simple because this was meant to be a background game that you can just leave running and not have to pay too much attention to it. The way it would work is that you'd place a station that would make a certain type of recipe, like either a coffee or a pastry, next to some tables. And ever so often, cats would come and order an item from the list of unlocked recipes. Then you'd have to wait for the order to be completed, and you can also click it to speed it up because I really hate grindy games. And then the cat would enjoy their delicious treat. For the cat, cats, we had found some base cat 3D models and then altered their mesh and texture in Photoshop and Blender so they could fit more into our game. But since this game is supposed to run in the background, it can get kind of annoying for some people to have to take the orders and then complete the orders for the cats. So what I did was add some staff that would completely automate this process so you can just sit back and relax and watch your cafe run. Needless to say, this also took quite some time. We also wanted the UI to look friendly and integrated into the game, so we decided on this cute notepad and a simple interface so that you could see all of the recipe and furniture options. And I don't even want to tell you how long the UI took or how many times we redid it. Now we were finally starting to unlock the full game's potential, except, well, it didn't work in the build. But luckily, by this time, Walter had hacked into the Windows backend and found a loophole that would finally allow the game to run transparently on the desktop. Before continuing to add features or polishing the gameplay, we thought it'd be important to start setting up the Steam page. Usually you want to do this in advance to start advertising and getting wish lists so that those can convert into more sales when you launch the game. Now, one of the most important things of a Steam page is its cover art. You know how people say, don't judge a book by their cover? Well, they're lying. Everyone judges a book by their cover, just as everyone judges a game by its cover art, which is the first thing they see when browsing on Steam. If the cover is good, then the trailer and the screenshots are the next most important thing, followed by a good description. As I mentioned before, we really aren't trained in art, so we decided to commission a professional that would make the cover art for us. I was scrolling through TikTok and I found this super cute game called Haunted Paws. I really liked how simple and nice their cover art was, so after digging through the internet and Reddit, I found that the artist, Holtz, specialized in Steam covers. I reached out to him and he was super excited to work on the project. We really wanted to have a desktop cozy type of feeling to the cover that would really make it stand out. And Holtz was super communicative and did a great job understanding the feeling that we wanted and iterating on potential covers. We settled on this one and I absolutely love it, and I think it stands out a lot on Steam. Thank you to Holtz for this amazing cover, and I highly recommend him for any Steam cover commissions or other art-based requests. The link to his website is in the description. We set up some cute demo screens for our screenshots that shows you all sorts of things that you can make in the game, and recorded some GIFs for the description, which by the way was a big hassle. Steam only allows your page to have 15 megabytes maximum of images and GIFs. Needless to say, that isn't a lot. My GIFs are running at a glorious 5 frames per second in 2024. Anyways, you can now wishlist the game on Steam. Please, my career depends on it. We are now 6 months into development of our 1-month project, and to be honest, apart from it having taken way longer than we expected, I was really happy with how it looked and played. We had done a great job of making a unique take on the desktop genre while still having it look good. I even added some extra Easter eggs so that placing specific props would trigger a cat to start a specific animation, which I think brings a lot more life into the game than just watching them eat delicious food that you start craving. I also decided to add some purchasable pets and farm animals that would just walk around and be a chill guy. But the important question here is, can you pet the dog? Not yet, but I will be adding that soon. So since we want this desktop game to not only be a gimmick, we also added another feature where you can scroll super far so that it wouldn't be in your way. We also want to add a transparency option that would make the whole game semi-transparent, and also a minimize option for those who may want those. But what's the fatal dilemma I mentioned at the beginning of this video that could potentially ruin our game after 7 months in development? Well, it's something all indie developers have to face eventually: marketing. Now, I was very overconfident in my ability to successfully market this game, considering I have a pretty successful YouTube channel, and I just assumed that that experience would transfer over. However, I'm still not versed in the lingo and the culture of our target audience, so it's been pretty hard to advertise this game. While we do have over 900 wish lists now, which isn't pad, and thank you everyone for your support. That's amazing. To be on the popular upcoming tab on Steam, you need to have at least 7,000 wish lists to be in a good spot to be considered, which is a lot. So while we finish this game, I'll try to figure out how to reach that number and I'll report back. Which, by the way, you can help us reach that goal. You know, make my life easier. And if you want to learn to make games from scratch, I have the perfect video for you. Bye bye!